The truck's engine coughed like it had a cold, rattling to a stop in front of a sleek brownstone on Maple Street. Marcus Tate wiped sweat from his brow, the August heat clinging to his worn t-shirt. At 38, he looked older than he should, lines etched deep from nights spent worrying over bills, his daughter's asthma meds, and the custody battle that still stung like a fresh cut. A single dad, hauling boxes for cash gigs off Craigslist, he was barely holding it together. But today, he just needed to move some furniture, get paid, and make it home before Lila's bedtime. The ad had been vague. Need strong help to move boxes. $50. 2 hours max. Marcus didn't ask questions. $50 meant groceries for the week. He grabbed his work gloves, hopped out of the truck, and knocked on the polished door, expecting a harried homeowner with a mess of cardboard. Instead, the door swung open, and there stood a woman in a tailored blazer and heels so sharp they could have cut glass. Her auburn hair was swept into a flawless bun, and her eyes, piercing green, locked onto him like she'd known him for years. "Marcus Tate," she asked, her voice warm but deliberate. He blinked, thrown off. Yeah, here for the moving job." She smiled, a flicker of something unreadable crossing her face. "I've been waiting for you." Marcus froze. The words hit like a gust of wind, stirring something deep: confusion, maybe hope. He laughed nervously, scratching the back of his neck. "Ma'am, I think you got the wrong guy. I'm just here to haul boxes." "No mistake," she said, stepping aside. "Come in. I'm Eleanor." Inside, the house was pristine. No clutter, no boxes in sight. A grand piano gleamed in the corner, and sunlight poured through tall windows. Marcus's boots felt out of place on the polished hardwood. "Where's the stuff to move?" he asked, glancing around. Eleanor gestured to a leather couch. "Sit. We need to talk first." He hesitated. This wasn't how gigs worked. But her gaze held a quiet insistence, and his gut told him to stay. He sat, hands clasped, feeling like a kid called to the principal's office. "Marcus," she began, sitting across from him, "I know you're raising Lila alone. I know about the late shifts at the warehouse, the hospital bills, the landlord breathing down your neck. I know you haven't had a day off in months." His jaw tightened. "How do you know all that? Who are you?" She leaned forward, her voice softening. 15 years ago, you worked at a corner store in South Philly. You were what, 23? A kid came in every week, skinny, always hungry. You'd slip him extra food, bread, apples, whatever you could spare. You never asked his name, never made a fuss. You just helped. Marcus's breath caught. He remembered those days, barely scraping by himself, but seeing that kid's hollow eyes had tugged at something in him. He'd forgotten about it, buried under years of survival. "How do you know about that?" "Because," Eleanor said, her voice trembling just enough to crack her polished exterior, "that kid was my brother. Daniel. You saved him, Marcus. Those small acts of kindness, they kept him going until we got out of that mess. He's a doctor now, because of you." The room seemed to tilt. Marcus's hands gripped the couch. I didn't do anything special. I just gave him some food." "You gave him hope," Eleanor corrected, her eyes glistening. "And now it's my turn to give it back." She stood, crossing to a desk, and returned with an envelope. "There are no boxes to move, Marcus. That ad was for you. This is for Lila's medical bills, a year's rent, and a scholarship fund for her education. And there's a job offer in there, a good one, with benefits at my company. You start next week, if you want it." He stared at the envelope, his throat tight. "Why? Why me? I'm nobody." Eleanor knelt in front of him, her heels clicking softly. "You're the man who saw a kid no one else noticed. You're the dad who fights every day for his daughter. You're not nobody, Marcus. You're the kind of person who changes the world without even knowing it." Tears burned his eyes, and he looked away, embarrassed. All those nights praying for a break, all the times he'd felt like he was failing Lila, they flooded back, raw and heavy. But so did the memory of that kid's shy smile, the way he'd clutched the bread like it was gold. Maybe, just maybe, he'd made a difference. "I don't know what to say," he whispered. "Say you'll take the job," Eleanor said, smiling through her own tears. "And say you'll keep being you." He nodded, clutching the envelope like a lifeline. For the first time in years, he felt something lighter than worry, something like possibility. When he left, the sun was setting, painting the street gold. He drove home, the envelope on the passenger seat, and when he walked through the door, Lila ran to him, her laughter filling the cramped apartment. He scooped her up, holding her tight, and whispered, "Things are gonna be okay, baby girl." That night, Marcus slept without nightmares. And somewhere across town, Eleanor raised a glass to her brother, whispering, "We paid it forward, Danny. Just like you wanted." The world doesn't always notice the quiet heroes, the ones who give when they have little, who fight for others despite their own battles. But every act of kindness ripples, touching lives in ways we can't imagine. Marcus Tate didn't set out to change the world. He just did what felt right. And in return, the world found him, reminding us all that compassion is a seed that grows forever.